Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are from around the world. My name is Sven Wegner. I'm the founder and CEO of Mainstage Incubator, and I welcome you to our webinar series, Better Together Against COVID. Just before we start, I'd like to say a big thank you and a shout out to all our partners here, Station Frankfurt Rhein-Main, StartupNews.fyi, 100 startups, 100 open startups, AirMeet, the platform provider, Clear Strategy from Frankfurt, Easily, the link shortening platform, and last but not least, Frankfurt Valley. I'm super excited to be here today. We're having this great webinar today, the great topic, and our two speakers. Before we start, I'd just like to quickly talk to you guys about Mainstage Incubator, what we do, what our aim is. So we do nothing but, short technical problem. Yeah, so what is Mainstage Incubator? We build bidirectional bridges, innovation bridges between developing and developed startup ecosystems. So we help international startups scale their business and innovation into Frankfurt and then further into Europe, and vice versa. So if you are a fan of social media like I am, feel free to use our hashtags. It's hashtag Mainstage Incubator, hashtag Better Together, hashtag Frankfurt Valley. Before I introduce you to the speakers, I'd just like to show you guys quickly what we have in store for the next weeks. The agenda, as you can see, and I'm sure you've seen it somewhere else, we will be sharing that after the webinar as well. And just to remind you all, every presentation you will see here will be sent to you if you have registered with your email. So today we have Pedro Ferreira, he's our international advisor at Mainstage Incubator, and Debasis Chakraborty, he's a co-founder and COO of Mainstage Incubator. It's going to be a really great session. So Pedro, I don't know if you guys, Pedro, I will quickly introduce him to you. He's a mentor and advisor at the Founders Institute in Frankfurt. He's also the founder of Frankfurt Valley. He is a curator at Singular University. And I think it's best if you go check his LinkedIn because I don't have the time to go through everything. Quick facts about Debasis Chakraborty. He has been in the startup environment for the past 8 to 10 years. He also had his own startup, and Mainstage Incubator is kind of his third startup. He's very well known in the industry. He's a mentor in multiple TBIs, but also some startups. But I will have our speakers introduce themselves later on. We have a surprise for you, so it'll be really cool if you could stay until the end of this webinar, and I'm 100% sure that you will not regret this. Over to Pedro. Enjoy.
All right. So thank you, Sven, and thank you, Mainstage. I'm very happy to be here today with you. I'm just trying to show my presentation. Can you all see it? I hope so. Sven, can you confirm that you see it?
Yes, we can see it, Pedro. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's start. As I was saying, thank you, Sven and Debasis, for inviting me to talk to you today. And yes, to everyone that is attending and listening to us. I'm going to talk to you about the topic that was just said about the state of the European, German, and Frankfurt startup ecosystem. So the agenda is to go through those topics, and in the end, I'm going to deep dive a bit just a bit about the coronavirus impacts and how we should tackle that. It's a topic that Debasis will also talk about. So a disclaimer that I want to do beforehand is that everything that you will see here, it's based on my personal point of view, but I'm not a policymaker, I'm not a city or state representative, and I'm also not an investor or a financial analyst. So what I am indeed, as Sven just said, I'm a startup enthusiast. I've been involved with a lot of startups and scale-ups for the past 10 years. Indeed, my first job was as a trainee into a very fast-scaled Paris startup. So I started in the Paris ecosystem. Then, as I'm Portuguese, I moved back to Lisbon, where I also work with some startups between Lisbon and Madrid. And since the last 9 years, I've been based in Frankfurt. So I've been working with different startups and different platforms that support entrepreneurship, diversity, and female entrepreneurship. So right now, I'm working with a project called Experience Plus, which is working to try to disrupt the media and the entertainment business. But at the same time, I've been trying to support, as Sven just said, Mainstage Incubator, Founders Institute, and Singularity University here in Frankfurt. Before we start, I would like to play a game with you to make this a bit more interactive. So the game is quite easy. It's a quiz, and I'm gonna make 4 questions, and for each question you will have 20 seconds to answer. And the platform that we will be using will select the winner. The winner is going to be the one who had the most answers correct and that responded the fastest. So to do this game, I would like to invite you, just if you have a mobile phone with you or a tablet or eventually on your another tab, to go to slido.com and insert the code that it's written here, 38449. I'm going to wait just so that some players log in. I see that we already have 1 player. It would be really fun if all of you could try to log in. Those who can't, well, you can write the answers on AirMeet on the chat console. But yeah, right now we have 4. I see Annette there. I see Samit, Vikram. I hope some more people can log in.
So Pedro, I would suggest let's wait 10 more seconds before we kick off with the quiz.
Okay. You tell me. We have 7 already there. 9. Okay. Can I start, Sven? By the way, you are not there.
Let us give 5 more seconds. I'm not going to participate in this quiz.
You would win it.
Definitely.
All right. I think we already have a good database of people, 16 people already in. So I'm gonna start with the first question. So in terms of capital invested in startups, which was the only region with positive growth in last year, 2019? Was it Asia, USA, or Europe? So you have now 8 seconds to reply. And then I'm gonna show the correct answer. So if you answered Asia, as it seems most of the people did, you are wrong. It was also not USA, and 27% of you had the right answer. It was Europe, and I'm going to show you during my presentation the graph that shows this, and it's going to prove it. So let's go to the next question. So in terms of business industries, which one raised the most money in Europe in the past 5 years? Was it healthcare, mobility, prop tech, fintech, or travel? So you have 9 seconds now to answer to this. Think carefully. Which sector? All right, time is over. All right, so 33% of you thought it was healthcare. Indeed, it's not, it's fintech. So 67 were right. Let me show you. Next question. Although Frankfurt is known by the fintech hub, the fastest growing startup in the region and also in Europe is a prop tech company, a sleep tech product, an insurtech, a drone service, or a healthcare product. So you have Accommodeo, Emma, Clark, Wingcopter, or Fitvia. Do your bet. All right, so those are the answers, and I'm gonna tell you that 10% of you are right. It was a sleep tech company, Emma. They sell online mattress, and this is the fastest growing startup, not only in our region, but also for the past 2 years in Europe. I was lucky to work there, by the way. So let's move to the final question, and maybe the winner will come from here. In terms of Frankfurt population, what's the percentage of people with a international or migrant background? So 1/4, 1/3, or half of it? Think carefully, Frankfurt and the amount of population with a migrant or international background. Okay, so quite diverse, but I'm gonna tell you, maybe it's a surprise, but the pure German are a minority in Frankfurt right now. So most of the population have really an international and the migrant background, which shows that Frankfurt is quite an international city. So now that the game is over, let's see who is the winner. Raja is the number one. Then we have Dharmik, Samit, Iteshi, and Nea. Congratulations, everyone. It seems that I hope you had fun. And I would like to invite Raja to have a talk because you seem to got the most of the answers correct. So now let's start the presentation now that we made this game. So let's start talking a bit about European landscape. If you are interested about getting more information and more content about the European landscape, there are multiple sources and multiple available resources. Here I summed up some of them. I'm happy to share afterwards the links for it. So just ping me on LinkedIn and I can forward you the links. Most of the informations that I used for this presentation are from those two big studies, the State of European Tech from Atomico and from Startup Gnome. So here you can see that indeed for the past 10 years, there is a huge solid growth in Europe. You can see on the left what happened 5 years ago between 2010 and 2014 and what has been happening the past 5 years from 2015 to 2020. So you can see that the amount in every KPI that we can talk about, from amount of unicorns, countries with unicorns, capital invested, amount of rounds, percentage of investment coming from outside. So in all the KPIs, Europe has been growing. So there are 5 times more unicorns in Europe. The countries with unicorns doubled. The amount of capital invested more than tripled. So all the KPIs are very positive and shows a very solid growth. This is the graph that I was using to explain you that indeed, in terms of capital invested, Europe has been steadily increasing. When you look into Asia, there was a great increase in 2018, but in 2019, there was a drop. Let's see what happens in 2020. When it comes to US, exactly the same. It was a big increase from 2017 to 2018, but then it kind of stabilized. So Europe, on the other hand, has been increasing steadily, and the record was last year, 2019. So, and here an interesting fact when it comes to the industries, these are the main industries that the capital has been invested within. So fintech is by far one of the biggest, as well as enterprise software. But you can see there are multiple business industries from mobility, transportation to travel, etc. This is a good way to showcase the development. So you can see UK had a big development in 2013. Most of the other countries got a big increase 2 years later, so around 2015. When it comes to Germany, you can also see in 2017 there was already as well a big jump, and you can see here the ranking of the countries. So the top 10 countries, Germany is the number 2, but yes, UK is leading, then France, Sweden. Those are the main countries that have been performing quite well in Europe. I also selected this map to showcase that indeed the unicorns are quite you have unicorns pretty much in all the countries in Europe, and here when we talk about the most well-funded tech startups in Germany, we got N26 as a fintech company to represent us. So I just said about Germany, so let's go to the German landscape. So as we've seen before, when we talk about Europe, Germany is considered to be the second country in terms of capital invested. But if we talk about, for example, professional developers or talent, I'm pretty sure we can rank number 1, as this study says. And if we talk about tech communities, the top 3 would be Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg. Although I must say that Frankfurt, for example, is considered to be fighting for the 3rd place with Hamburg. So this is a bit the map of Germany and the different cities and hubs that we have. So you can see that we have different hubs specialized within different industries. You see that, for example, mobility is very focused in Munich. In Frankfurt, we have a lot of activities in the fintech, cybersecurity. So you can see that wherever is your business working within, we have different hubs that could be interesting for you to partner with. Some interesting facts that I would like to mention to you. Indeed, in Germany, there are a lot of venture investors, corporate venture investors. If we compare it, for example, with UK and France, they are the closest countries in the ranking. Germany, indeed, has more than them, and this could be a very interesting thing for some projects. And as well, the amount of German VCs, that we have a lot of VCs working with it in seed and Series A. It's very relevant. So there are a lot of investors and business angels that could be ready to invest in early stage startups. And this is also a very good indicator for early stage projects. And here, last but not the least, yes, I would like to show you a bit per city where we stand. It's really Berlin, Munich are in the top 5. Only London and Paris can be behind our cities. So, but now about Frankfurt, where I'm based and where Mainstage is based. There are as well some resources that you could use. Mainstage, of course, it's one of the best resources that you can use. We have been involved with Startup Guide. We are also involved right now to try to develop the Startup Guide edition for Germany, for example. And let's hope that Mainstage can have a good role on that. You have Rheinmain VC, where you can check all of the indicators of the VCs in the region, Frankfurt Valley, that I just initiated. We try to share as much of information, news, events in English, but yes, as well, you have Station, Startup Radio, and other initiatives that support the entrepreneurship. As I show a lot of fundraising indicators before, I would just like to show you what is happening in the Rhine-Main area. So just like in Europe, we are also increasing in this KPI. So in 2018, we had an increase to 2019, and we established a record. And when we take an analysis per quarter, this year we were having on the first quarter the best result ever. So the year was starting very well. So hopefully, let's see how 2020 ends up, because it was starting very well here in the region. So, but now about Frankfurt. Why Frankfurt? Why should you consider relocating to Frankfurt? Indeed, there are multiple things that I can talk to you about Frankfurt. I would say that right now it's a very early stage ecosystem when compared to ecosystems like Bangalore in India. It's very small. We have around right now 500 startups. Most of them are working in the fintech industry, but there are a lot of other hubs even inside the region for mobility, because we have one of the number one airport in the region and a lot of good connections. And we have as well a very interesting thing in the ecosystem, that we have a lot of universities, so more than 20. There are a great pool of talent to develop the project. So the pros of having a company here in Frankfurt is that you are in the center of Europe. The community is very engaged, as this is the financial center. The European Central Bank is here. Most of the international banks are also based here. We have some sort of a privilege of abundance of resources, and this could be very useful for any startup that is based in Frankfurt. So just as a matter of curiosity, I would like to show you just some KPIs. So Frankfurt indeed represent 10% of the German products that are manufactured from here. And indeed, the regional gross product is even higher than some countries in Europe, like Croatia or Serbia or Iceland, as well in Africa, like Senegal, Tunisia, or in LATAM, Uruguay, Panama, Costa Rica. So it's very interesting that the region can have a regional product higher than to so many countries. And as I said before, it's very well connected. For those who are more techy, these are also very interesting things. So in Frankfurt, we have more IT companies than in Silicon Valley or Bangalore, and we have as well the world's highest number of network providers worldwide. So it's one of the best peering platform. And yes, most of the companies, as said, are based here. Another question that was on the quiz was about the internationality, the environment in Frankfurt. So it's quite international. You may be interested to know that we have around 10,000 Indians really living in Frankfurt and working in Frankfurt, which makes India the biggest Asian community in Frankfurt. And during the past years, we have more than 150 companies that set up operation here. Just last week, or just like Tuesday, at Founders Institute, we were talking with the founder of Inoplexus, for example, which shared his story and really endorsed everyone to set up business here in Frankfurt. So I would really encourage you to look at this option. This was it about Frankfurt. Now let's move to the coronavirus impacts. And I will try to be short, because I know that Debasis will also cover some of these points. So this was something that we were not predicting, none of us, I guess, but it's a great test for everyone in Europe. So it's true that we will have less funding. It's true that it's going to be a very hard situation with the increase of unemployment, increase of insolvency. There are business sectors that obviously will be very impacted, like retail, airline, tourism, so more traditional ones. But on the other side, and this is a message that I want to share with you today, and this is something that I think Mainstage, we shared this vision as well. it's a great opportunity right now, because there are, with these challenges, you will have new opportunities and new needs. So all the digital transformation that can happen right now, you can build on that. So a reminder, and this one, it's a very fresh study from Startup Gnome. So during the last two recessions, there were indeed less money, but it was the time where more companies got funded. So half of the Fortune 500 companies were really created during recession times. And the last, just to give a number to you, 15 of the tech unicorns were funded during these years, 2007 and 2009. So here are some examples of companies that were launched during these bad times, the last crisis. You may know some of them, but going a bit further, 20 years or 50 years, you can see a lot of companies that were funded, and they are the ones generating the most money the last years. So for you to believe that the opportunities are out there. So here, just to show you, you can always look at the left or the right side of the thing. So 74% of the startups in Europe may think that this will impact them negatively, but on the other hand, 1/4 look at him as a positive impact for their business. And most of the startups are maintaining their operation and keeping their staff. So yes, look at these times as a test, but also you can always pivot your business towards adapting to the new reality. As I'm trying to convince you that Germany and Europe is a good place to set up your business or to scale to these markets, just to give you an example of some positives news that have been on the media. For example, Bloomberg just published an article saying that Germany could be a post-coronavirus winner. On the other hand, the European Commission is now launching a lot of initiatives for people to develop their solutions and having funds specifically to support those startups to fight the coronavirus with new solutions. So I would say that in a nutshell, although this is not what we dreamed of, we should take up the situation and adapt to it, and maybe see this as an opportunity. So my final notes, because the time is running, as an ecosystem builder, what I believe and what Mainstage believes as well is that we are doing this together. We are here for you. So we should work across borders to find solutions to support regional startup ecosystems in every domain. So this was my message for you today. You have my contacts. Feel free to reach out to me, and any questions, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pedro. This was really, indeed, a really great presentation. Looking at all the insights, I think was very, very insightful. Before we move on to Debasis Chakraborty, is there anybody out here who has a question? So I can see that Aneta just asked a question, and the question is, how can Mainstage Incubator support Indian founders and companies to utilize and expand on the German market? So I think if I may answer that, hey, Aneta, we heavily support Indian startups, not only Indian startups, but also international startups, to help them scale into Germany or Frankfurt, with customer acquisition being the biggest focus, but we also help with coaching and training, giving them all the elements to be successful before being put in front of a customer, which is actually to their advantage. We have even in this webinar 2 or 3 of our startups who in the portfolio who are talking to some really, really big global companies, and they're just about to go into a proof of concept phase. So yeah, that's all with regards to that. So I would say, Aneta, let's take this offline. Let's if you're in Frankfurt, let us maybe have some emails on that. So does anybody else have any questions, or if you want to come live on stage, you can raise your hand. On the right side, there's a raise hand button, and you can tune in with video. Okay, so I have Sumit has a question here. So Sumit is asking so I think it's for you, Pedro. What are your views on mobility sector and major companies willing to work with startups?
Well, that's a very good question. Indeed, I was some months ago at the YAHA. YAHA is one of the biggest European and German automotive show. Indeed, that was one of the questions that we were talking about. But right now, with this situation of the coronavirus, I got myself thinking, okay, everything that we shared on that day now doesn't make any sense, or it's completely the opposite. So mobility will face a lot of changes, I'm pretty sure of. I'm not able to tell you right now which are the things that will be the right frameworks or the right direction. But indeed, it's a very interesting point that I'm sure it's going to be on trending and really on the focus of the upcoming weeks and months, because it's one of the highest challenge on how people will be able to keep going with their daily lives. How is going to be the mobility between countries, between geographies. For example, myself, going a bit on the solution that I'm building goes in that direction, because I believe that if people could use more technology and avoid the physical mobility, but mostly using the digital experience to travel, for example, or I think there could be a good way to solve the challenge that we will face in mobility. So we can take this off to another.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Pedro. So before we jump to Debashi's session, we have someone who wants to come live on stage. His name is Lakshay Taneja, and I can see there from Birth Venue. So Birth Venue is also officially launching with Mainstage. So let's see if we can bring him in. Hi, Lakshay. How are you?
Hi. Fine. So we, Birth Venue, we're a blockchain and AI startup, and what we have made is a fake news solution for the media houses, because right now there is a problem that everybody is getting a fake news. Whether this is true or not, there is not a solution made by right now. But we have made it. We have a demo with us, which is made by using the blockchain technology. So now we are seeing that right now the European countries are very excited about how to stop fake news. Every country is excited, but European is very much excited, especially for this sector. So how can we approach the media houses and make them understand that this is the way to do it? Do not go for another way, because that way is not for you. This is the way. The blockchain technology is the way to do this system. Plus, we can bring AI if they're required.
Sure, Lakshay. I think so. I don't know, Pedro, if you want to have answered that, yes. But Lakshay, we can take that offline as well. But Pedro, do you want to add something on top of that? You have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I think, as said, it's good that you're already working with Mainstage. I think here in Germany, we have a good, and especially in Frankfurt, we have a good community for blockchain. And we hope that together we can support you to get more visibility and find the right way to approach here at the European market. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Lakshay. Thanks. So how do I... okay, there you go. We have one last question, and then we move over to Debashish. This question comes from Vikram G. He's the director of the Acharya Institute in Bengaluru, I believe. Thanks for the nice presentation. What are the synergies available for clean tech? Pedro.
Clean tech. All right, that's another great area. We were just discussing about on Founders Institute, for example, we were discussing about the global challenge, and this is indeed one of the global challenge that we face. And clean tech is an area that we have multiple initiatives here in Germany and in Europe. What Sven and myself are doing is to curate them and have a database of potential initiatives that are scouting international projects to onboard them either to Europe or to support them. So I guess if you can reach to Sven, we will follow up on that and support you to get the curation of the different programs that are available.
Perfect. Thank you very much again, Pedro. Thanks for your time. It was really good to have you here. I hope you will stay with us for some more time.
Yes.
Moving forward, now that everyone has seen, again, thank you very much. Now that you all had an idea about the European startup ecosystem, the German one, let's now go back to India, to the roots of Debasis Chakraborty. But also, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. I'm half Indian, half German as well. So now it's out there. Everybody knows. Debasis, over to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Sven. And thank you so much, Pedro, for this fantastic presentation. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Sven, am I audible to everybody?
Yes.
All right. So, hello and welcome. Welcome once more to this presentation of Better Together Against COVID. I'm Debasis. I am the co-founder and COO of Mainstage Incubator. And today, our CEO, Sven, has entrusted me with the responsibility of taking our audience through the Indian startup ecosystem. So thank you so much, Sven, and thank you, Pedro, once more. Before I dive into my presentation, I would like to take a moment to stand up and clap for yourself. It's absolutely important that we all appreciate each other for what we have done in this last 30 days for ourselves, our country, our humanity. We, the target driven, the outgoing, busy in meeting, growth hungry professionals have managed to stay completely locked indoors. Imagine, could you have ever imagined this happening sometime in February, January, even last year for that matter? No. So we have saved the world by staying indoors. At least we have tried to do that. So with this note, what I would like to say is I have divided my presentation in two parts. One is the startup ecosystem before February 2020, and part two being the new normal. So a small disclaimer, there is a lot of data I will be sharing in this in my presentation. So if there's any discussion you would like to have on the data, I would like to take those questions offline, but any general questions are very much welcome. So, but I would also open up the forum in the middle of the presentation to have any kind of questions. So here we dive into my presentation. Is my presentation visible, Sven?
Yes, it's visible.
Great. So I have given two names to this era. One is BC, which is before COVID, and of course, post-February is what we are talking about is after COVID. So before COVID was all about growth, all about glamour, all about running for funding, all about what you see in the next screen is all about our startups. Our startups at about 9,500 startups in the last 5 years. We added about 7 unicorns in last year alone, 390 plus active institutional investors, 335 active incubators and accelerators who are fostering this ecosystem. Our startup ecosystem created more than 60,000 direct jobs and about 130 to 160,000 indirect jobs. And this is an astronomical number. So what has made India as such an interesting feather of the cap kind of situation for the world startup ecosystem is we are third in the number of unicorns we have produced so far. We've got about 36 of them. The average time in India, startup ecosystem, within our ecosystem, a startup takes 6 to 8 years to achieve the unicorn status and an average valuation of approximately about 3.2 billion. Well, there is a big difference between the first and the second, China and the US. Well, China, we all know it's a captive economy. US, yes, given if COVID wouldn't have been there in the next 4 years, we would have caught on to this number in terms of the number of unicorns. Uh, so the startups typically are, sector-wise breakup of the startups is very interesting for us to see. So we have got, on your right-hand side, you will see edutech, fintech, mobility, health tech, and automotive were growing at an average CAGR of approximately about 50%, little less than that, since 2014. The red circle is where things started getting clamped down during the COVID area. So automotive has taken a big hit. Medium growth between 35, less than 35%. HR, supply chain, real estate, food tech, retail tech, enterprise, and industrial manufacturing, and travel and hospitality were also growing at a fantastic rate of growth. Now, well, the orange and the red circles, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. They will revive, but as we progress in this presentation, I'll cover them as well. So what has led to this position? Today, in the ease of doing business, we are 63rd. We were 142 just about 5 years back, and there has been huge amount of systemic changes. There has huge amount of ecosystem support, and this has happened because of five key incidents or events which has happened, or clusters which has got developed. One is the startup clusters in India. They have developed very interestingly. There is also an increasing ever a width and depth in each of those sectors. India has its own digital platform, and this is very interesting. We also have a robust pipeline of what we call as unicorns, soon to be unicorns, and of course the concept of build in India and sell globally. So when we are talking of emergence of the startup hubs, of course, Bangalore dominated the scene for the best part of the years and is still dominating. Delhi and Mumbai are catching on, but these three cities put together dominates literally 42 to 45% of our startup ecosystem. But interestingly, what has happened is look at your right, and you will see that Hyderabad, Pune, Chennai, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Kolkata, Kochi, Trivandrum, Kanpur, Chandigarh, Coimbatore, to name a few, have actually been growing in the number of startups getting added at above more than 50% CAGR. So these clusters are also evolving very fast. These clusters are solving pertinent problems, and these clusters are moving with the help of the state machinery, with the help of the private machinery. They are also catching up very fast. So when we say ever increasing width and depth, so we have divided typically into three parts. One is a mature sector, one are the emerging sector, and is the nascent sector. So the mature sectors are fintech, health tech, enterprise tech, retail tech. The emerging sectors are edutech. Well, actually, this is really emerging now. We have supply chain, we have mobility, we have travel hospitality. We had travel hospitality, and nascent sectors being industrial manufacturing, gaming, agri-tech, and media. So what has happened, if you look on your left hand side, you will see fintech. We are talking of financial inclusion. We are trying to bring in reduce as much of cash and bring in digital currency. I'm not talking Bitcoin, but basically digitally managing currency. We are talking of lending, we are talking about insurance, we are talking of wealth management. And fintech has very strong play in each of the other three sectors. We are talking of enterprise tech, health tech, and retail tech. So what is our Indian digital platform? So Indian digital platform, everybody would have heard of Aadhaar, but that's typically what our Indian digital platform is all about. So it is it has got 4 initiatives. One is a presence-less layer, one is a paperless layer, cashless layer, and a consent layer. A presence-less layer basically is an universal biometric system. A paperless layer where digital records are stored of every citizen. Imagine doing that for 1.3 billion people. Cashless layer is our UPI system, which is opening up APIs and opportunities and giving a platform to multiple fintech companies to build solutions on top of that. Consent layer is partly about eKYC and of course securely how do you manage that data. So on your left hand side you see some fantastic numbers. So the India stack numbers that India has issued more than 1.06 billion, that's with a B, Aadhaars in the last 6 years. And Aadhaars, and for our international audience, Aadhaar is the social security unique number being issued for every citizens of India. 2.98 billion Aadhaar authentications. So every Aadhaar needs 2 to 3 kinds of authentications. So 2.98 billion kind of data which has been generated and authentications done. About 340 million Aadhaar linked bank account details, 150 million eKYC is done in 3 years. These are numbers. I mean, each of these numbers is probably one country in the world. So this is the kind of numbers which we have been able to achieve so far. So the fourth one is about the robust pipeline of unicorns. We still have about 34 plus unicorns. The unicorns which are in the travel space may take a hit. We have seen a 3x growth in the funding of more than 50 million and 6x growth of funding between 100 to 500 million. Some of the notable names, most of the Indians would know these names. So for our international audience, Lending Card is a lending platform. Zoom Car is a self-drive platform. Nykaa is a beauty platform for buying beauty products. These are all going to be unicorns. So Grofer is a grocery delivery platform. CarTrade is second-hand car trading platform. LiveSpace typically digitizes empty flats, new apartments, and gives you virtual interior solutions and gets that made. CureFit is a wellness come food kind of a platform which has been founded by the ex-Myntra founders. Practo is a holistic solution for patients. Daily Hunt is news. So the last, which is very, very important and one of the most starking revelations in my research when I did this was only 21% of our Indian startups are primarily focusing for the global market, which is actually quite sad. We have been trying to emulate the Israeli model of startups producing in India and selling and typically opening up for the global market. And this is exactly why Mainstage was founded, is we wanted to catch the startups early and give them the global perspective. And if you see on the world platform, well, most of our 21% of our startups are focusing to the US, to the American land. Only 15% is Europe, which is actually a huge opportunity for our Indian startups to start scaling up in that landmass. I'm not talking about Australia, Africa. These are very small, unexplored markets, but they also, offer promise. So this was all the nice and good and the growth things of the past. Now, what's in store after COVID? So this is something which comes out very interesting. So we have 3 impact scenarios. So COVID is definitely impacting us very badly. So one of the first impact scenarios, which is probably the best impact scenario, is where India quickly retracts from COVID by end April, May kind of thing, and the economy bounces back at 5.3 to 5.7%. The chances seem to be pretty remote for that. Okay. By the way, I forgot to give you guys a break. Any questions? I'm not able to see that on my screen. Sven, any questions which I can take now?
Sure, definitely. So there's one question again from Lakshay Taneja from Birth Venue. What are your thoughts on insurance product for India, like micro insurance?
So insurance product, Lakshay, is a highly regulated market in India. IRDA regulates that market heavily. Lot of startups have tried to do something in that space, but each time they try to innovate in that space, they have come in direct, I would not say conflict, but they have got stuck at the approval part. It's a highly regulated market, and it's a highly a market which is very difficult to penetrate. That is my opinion. Having said so, it would be nice to hear as to what kind of insurance innovation you're talking about. We can take that question offline and maybe have a slightly deeper conversation around it. Sven?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Debasis. We have a few questions, but I think let's carry on and then we will answer them on the fly.
Cool. So the second scenario, which seems to be more plausible, is, and at least that's what the numbers are looking at, is India controls COVID, but the world goes into recession. This would be also a very positive scenario where we at least able to manage a 4.5% growth. The worst scenario is where COVID and recession both hit India very bad. COVID is deep inside India, and India is sacrificing economy for livelihood, for lives, and that's when we will be hitting below 3%, and that is a very alarming number. So let's hope that we are at least on the second path where we are able to scrape through this problem. A sectoral impact, well, there are many detailed reports across the world about how every sector will get impacted. What I have done is I have put my view on how the sectoral impact will happen. Typically, I expect that high impact will be around automobile, auto component, aviation, tourism is a no-brainer, retail, non-essential, hospitality, of course. Petrochemical, we are all reading, and whoever is having petrochemical shares is actually having sleepless nights. So definitely these 4-5 sectors will be hit very bad. BFSI was already being hit because of lack of liquidity in the system, trust being a very big issue, is also being hit very bad because business is not happening, so there is hardly any role of working capital, so that will be hit hard. Metal and mining, I have put it here, it could have been in medium impact, but metal and mining will also be hit primarily because there is no real estate construction happening as of now. We still hope to see that the infrastructure construction should bounce back as fast as possible. That will give some respite to our core metal growth. MSME has been hit extremely bad. Most of the largest employer in the world, medium and small medium enterprises, these are the guys who have been hit because not only because of lack of projects or lack of orders, but also because of the lack of labor. In fact, we Mainstage have also was interacting with one of the MSMEs who have also got very badly hit. Petrol, of course, and diesel, if there is nobody driving in and may not drive going forward, so petrol and diesel will be hit. Lost transport, logistic, of course. Apparel, typically the cheap cost apparel will bounce back. India heads into festive season starting October, so we are hoping that that sector will start bouncing back. Textiles, specialized textiles will bounce back. See, another very interesting thing which we would like to point out is that the balance of trade between India and China is heavily skewed towards China. Typically, what we export to China is 1/3, if not maybe half, of what we import from China, textiles being one of the big ones. So India will have to improvise on producing that textile in India because the demand will always be there. Construction, of course, definitely infra projects. E-commerce, non-essentials will not be stopped for a very long time. We hope to see rebounds of Amazon and Flipkart starting to deliver. And of course, the growth industries which has not got impacted are the non-essentials, education and skilling. But education and skilling is just not a Zoom call or a Google Hangout call anymore. There has to be a lot of innovation, lot of creativity in the way you engage people. Just look at yourself. You are sitting on a seat for the last 1.5 hours, and you would like to get up and move around. So compare, concentrating yourself on one screen for a long period of time is very, very difficult. So education and skilling will still need to rise up to the occasion with innovation. Insurance, of course, when there is so much of uncertainty around us, personal insurance, business insurance takes a lot of lot of growth. Food agri, LPG, because of we are all staying indoors, we are cooking at home. Pharma drugs will see a huge amount of push. Telecom, without telecom we wouldn't be having this this webinar at all. So yes, so the ones on the right hand side, the startups who are remotely close to these zones or these sectors can start aligning themselves to these, and they will see some numbers. uh, so what is it? So we are talking about embracing the new normal. We are talking about these 7 things which is going to be ruling the next future of ours. So localization and regionalization would be very, 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 very important. We would like to produce locally and sell locally, so that our dependence on extensive supply chain is less. Today, what we used to create as a supply chain model of extensive multi-vehicle, multi-route transporting of goods may just see a different way of doing business. Digital got a push. I think we are all experiencing it. So the third thing is very important. This is mainly driven towards startups. Cash is the king. So your reserve in terms of cash will sail you through. If you are a burn business, you will have trouble. If you are if you are a rotation business, you will have trouble. So cash, and this is like going back to basics anyway. So the fourth point about variable cost model, we are talking of employee variable cost, rent variable cost, anything which does not need a fixed cost should be moved to variable cost. Um, the another very interesting thing is about digital control towers. Digital control towers are, data linking platforms which will link um unrelated data and try to come out with answers to larger populations. So, for example, somebody ordering food uh, trend with the consumption of petrol and diesel, or probably some part of the India or world suddenly needing some kind of a drug for some kind of a reason, and what is the reason for that. So that kind of transparency I'm talking about. Of course, building agility, it's a no-brainer. Everybody has to keep themselves on their toes on this. uh, so this is especially
Debashish,
yeah.
so before we move on to this, so we have 3 questions here. Would you like to answer them quickly?
Absolutely, please.
So Shiva Shakti Balan, he's from Sairam Business Incubator. He's asking, what would be the state of manufacturing sector post-COVID in India?
So the manufacturing sector will see 3 kinds of trouble going forward. One, and the glaring trouble in front of us, is bringing back labor into your factories. The second thing is bringing back your customers into your factories, and third thing is bringing back your capital into your factories. So manufacturing sector will take a little longer time, because each of these factors will need to get ironed out one after the other. So you have to give it 6 months to see some kind of recovery.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Debashish. Then the second question is from Rahul Singh, our friend from KPMG. So the
Yes,
industry
hi,
is
Rahul.
impacted minus cybersecurity question mark. So is cybersecurity impacted as well? That's what he's asking, I think.
So when I am talking about digital push, cybersecurity has just been given that quantum push upwards. So anything which is happening digital will have to be secure. So you must have heard, we all have heard about the problems which happened with Zoom, and people, and any platform which is not securing themselves will fall out of the favor, because there will be a problem of plenty. in terms of platforms, communication, and digital solutions in this world.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So digital push. Yeah.
Perfect. Then
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have Nagesh Sethi from IIoT JLU Technologies. His question is: would AC or after Corona give way for Industry 4.0 implementation in manufacturing industries? I think you covered that just now, right?
Yes, absolutely. So digital push means I will cover that going forward as well. Digital push means IoT. We are talking about computer vision. We are talking about uh, giving as many more tools to the human being to make their business more and more secure. Yes, Industry 4.0 is already in play.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm going to mute myself. Let's carry on.
Cool. So thank you, Sven, and thank you everybody for the questions. So just another few slides. This slide is mainly meant for our startup founders. Is how do you survive yourself in this turbulent times? So I have broken this up into 4 parts. One is employee, then we talk about business, we talk about customers, and then we talk about money. So when we talk about employees, and those are I have covered that first because those are the first people who face the brunt of a fall in business. And typically, as a founder, you should be in constant communication. Use this empty time or use this free time as for upskilling or reskilling your people, product enhancement, a pet project concept for the startups, for the employees of your company who will. So the pet projects typically needs to be aligned to the vision of the company. The fifth point is very interesting. You can give heavier than normal incentives for startups who are coming up, for companies who are, or sorry, for your employees who are coming up with interesting ideas or initiatives around revenue generation, but definitely work and hustle more because you are at home. See, something which I strongly recommend, but I leave this complete to you to decide is please do not retrench because you will reopen, you will open up today or tomorrow. And that's when you start looking out for, again, your trained employees. And that's when you'll be ready to scale. And because you have to cover a lot of lost ground, getting new employees, training them, bringing them back to a stage of performance will take you a really long time. So better to keep your employees who are already with you. A little bit of wrong reputation gets attached if you fire your employees. A hire and fire is still not an Indian culture, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever that is. Uh, Definitely renegotiate salary payouts, but please do not cut salaries. Another thing is please initiate and push your employees to take some kind of a health insurance unless you're already covering them, because any kind of health problems will drain them out further financially. So when we are talking customer, increase your outreach drastically, leave no stones unturned, use social media aggressively. Um, I would like to tell you that's learned from Sven how to acquire B2B customers on the social media platform. That's a secret I'm giving out today. But it's amazing, and you should explore as much as possible to increase your outreach. Give it a solution-driven approach, go deeper with your existing customer, take non-core projects if required, and please negotiate payment cycles. At least a running project is better than a closed one. So I would say these are the points which one should look for in customers. For business, pivot or align, very very important. uh, your vision, your dream doesn't go anywhere, but you got to survive to realize your dream or your vision. Redefine your core. Trash all good to have projects. Renegotiate all the all the contracts, rent, services, and non-essential deals, anything for that matter. Try to build more partnerships on revenue share, because that would be a win-win situation for all of you. Money, very important. Of course, conserve cash. One thing very important is you will see especially in the Indian scenario, your creditors will run away. So you have to ensure that you collect all your outstandings. Very very important. uh, with a little money which you might have had in hand, just open an FD. At least some of your expenses will be paid off. defer most of your payments, accept salaries. You can stagger your salaries. So, but lastly, I would like to tell you that, believe in yourself. Uh, Maintain that belief. Your strength of the belief should be as strong as the day you started it, because this is the time when that comes into play more than anything else. So some of the tips for the founders. So one very important, physical health, very important, but please take care of your mental health. Very, 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 very critical. uh, Defensive, don't be defensive, stay on the front foot, try to get as much projects as possible, be positive. I would recommend talk to a few failed customers, because that gives you a very good perspective as for business during turbulent times. um, Stay in direct communication with your stakeholders, volunteer as much as possible. And another interesting thing is talk to the older people. They are the people who have successfully dealt with some of the bigger crises in their lives. So they might give you some very interesting perspective. Conserve personal cash, very, very critical. That is also important. So top 9 startup trends in the 2020. uh, I see that the touchless, contactless, or the remote interfaces and interactions is just going to hit the roof, or probably break the roof and move upwards. Strengthen digital infrastructure, very, very important. IoT and big data will start becoming uh, very critical. We have been already talking to multiple startups working on projects in making smart street lamps that may just become a reality. Smart cities will start becoming a reality. Say AI enabled drug development process, that is also going to become, is already happening, and it's going to strengthen further. Medicine, I don't need to talk about much. Online shopping, everybody has experienced. Rise of the reliance on the robots will increase. More events on digital space like we are having today. And interestingly, rise on esports, that is going to be, I see as the biggest trend in the next in 2020. Consumer trends, time tested brands will shine, because we actually are having a huge trust deficit on our very existence right now. We don't know uh, what's going to happen tomorrow. There is absolutely no surety of what's going to come to us. So but time tested brands are definitely going to be there. DIY is going to gain grounds, like self baking, woodwork, making some wood work, learning to sing and stuff like that. Comfort in digital offerings, flexible work arrangement, and of course safety wins over privacy. This is a very pertinent question. So where do you sacrifice your privacy for in to get safe? Sven, you have
Debasis.
something to talk? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Well, I don't have something to talk about. I think our attendees would. They've been busy posting questions. So
Mm,
I think we have another question from Rahul. I think I'm going to skip that and give somebody else a chance. Sorry for that, Rahul.
right.
Neha, and I'm sorry for pronouncing this. Neha Kazanchi, she is a freelance photographer. She's asking, do you think the medical diagnosis sector is going to increase with people looking to be more safe? Could you share your views on the seed investment in this sector, and if Mainstage can help in this?
So, Neha, but medical diagnostic, anything around healthcare, health tech is going to take a huge boom. Anything which is solving the problem of population in terms of health tech, and we have realized now that some of the world's best countries in health tech have actually collapsed like a pack of cards. So there is really need to be a rethinking about the healthcare strategies around population, because this kind of pandemic will keep on recurring as climate changing. Yes, we can help you with connecting you with the right kind of stakeholders if you have an interesting idea around health tech.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Does
I
that
think
answer
that's
the
good.
question?
I think so. Yes, I think so. Then we
All right.
have just a remark from Varat Krishna. He's a co-founder and MD of 100 Open Startups and happened to be one of our advisors as well and partners. So he's asking or mentioning at Debasis, please add also collaborate to co-create the future. I think that was one point as a tip towards a startup, I think. And like Pedro mentioned earlier as well, let's collaborate. And I think spot on, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Varad, thank you so much for your feedback. Collaborate and co-create is what, in fact, Mainstage is all about. Um, well, I did not add that in my presentation, as in mention it in my presentation, but most of it is about collaboration and co-creation. When we are talking of sectors, increasing their width and depth, we are all encroaching into each other's zone, and that's where we collaborate. Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Varad. Understood.
Perfect. Thanks. Then a last question, and then you can move on. So Rahul Singh again, he's saying, any thoughts on the recent Jio Facebook deal? Maybe you can share your personal opinion on that.
I think it's a fantastic, it's a strategic deal. Especially everything what US does on India now will be directed against its biggest competitor, China. So it's more strategic than anybody what might say. They would like to start increasing, especially seeing. I'm sure we are all graduates of the WhatsApp University, and we all know that the number of Chinese investments into Indian companies. I'm sure the US guys have realized their mistake and would like to pull up their socks around it. Good for us.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm going to mute my.
Yeah. So interestingly, work from home is just not work from home and looking out of the window and looking into your screen. I will not explain this further, but you can actually see the kind of ripple effect if it has on multiple industries which is associated to work from home. So I'll just take one of them, which is eating at home. So we are talking about takeaway and home cooking. We are talking about delivery services and food delivery services. Along with that, we are talking about touchless payment, which is e-payments. Now, just going to the first one, work from home. If you see, go to the last column, we are talking about painting, carpentry, desks, and printers. So interestingly, BCG has come out with this grid, which actually gives us what are the industries work from home is impacting positively and which are the industries it is impacting negatively. Very, very interesting. Look at travel. As usual, it is hit very, very bad, except local tourism. So you might want to go around local. So when we talked about previously in my previous slide, we talked about localization and regionalization. I think we will start moving in that direction as well. So the few thoughts I want to leave you with. So in the new normal, how do you think returning to work will be? Say tomorrow the world opens up. How do you think you will go back to work? You start from home. Would you get into a crowded bus or a crowded metro or a crowded train? Would you sit in a crowded workplace? Would you get into a meeting room which has more than 3 people? How far will you keep yourself away from your colleague? So this is as an employee, I'm saying. I'm talking when we just inflate this problem at a government level. When they want to start up the machinery, how do they do it? While guidelines are being placed about social distancing, the world has not been designed for social distancing. So the question always remains is about how are we planning to return to work? The second thing is about sales, and I think Sven can identify with that more when we are talking about customer engagement at a B2B space. What we used to do is buy a ticket, go to the client's location, sit with him, thrash out the problem, come out with a PO in hand. Will we be able to do that again? Or if we are able to do it, how will we be able to do? Because it involves travel. Travel involves sitting with your co-passenger in a plane. Remember, we are in a social distancing scenario. How private is privacy anymore? At what stage or what state do you stop being private? Initially, traveling, your own health data was private. If you release that in the public domain, that's breach of privacy. Now what are we talking about? So we have to redefine how private is privacy going to be. Last but not the least, namaste. That's the new normal now. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you, Debasis. And I really like this because just today, after 1.5 weeks of or even no 3 weeks of quarantine, I went out just to the office, and you have this behavior that you meet someone and you just go like this. But if you think about it, in India, this is for hundreds and thousands of years. You do namaste, which is perfect. It's contactless. Anyway, thank you very much, Debasis, for giving us really great insights about the startup ecosystem in India. I think it was very interesting to see some of the even the government project like digital Aadhaar cards. I know we spoke about this offline someday, and you told me that the amount of data going in their dailies, that's crazy. If I think about my tax filing, I'm already worried, because you don't want to know how we do this in Germany. And I think our German friends in the webinar can confirm this. Yes, before we come to closure, any questions? Does anybody want to come on stage and ask a question? So I can see that. Debasis, sorry. So someone has raised a hand. Vikram, welcome, Vikram.
Hi, Vikram. How are you?
I'm good, Debasis. Thank you, Sven. And Debasis, that was a fantastic presentation, I must say, with a lot of statistics. Very impressive. Debasis, I have a question. My question is in terms of, I know it can be slightly off topic, but let me ask this question, because I believe this will also help some of the startup co-founders that are here today with us. My question is from the point of view of investors, having myself and through Acharya, as you know, personally, and both through institution closing some of the recent deals where we have already released the funds. What are some of the immediate things that me as an investor should be careful of? Because the projects or startups that we have closed the funding very recently, when we did not have any clue about this ongoing, this COVID. What are some of the things that we need to now be careful of? Should I ask my CEOs to roll back some of their projects? Should I ask them to be very careful in terms of their spending? If you can summarize with 3 points that I need to be very careful of, and those 3 points which I have to communicate to my CEOs, what are those 3 points?
So the first thing is the space in which the startup is in. If your startup is in the edutech space, please go all hammer and tong, because that's where the future lies, and try to innovate on that space. So depending on the space, so if the space is aligning to what the future is talking about, please push as much as possible with support. The second thing is, if you have already disbursed funds in startups which are struggling, which will be struggling, which you foresee will be struggling, a good idea is to have a very open and frank conversation and brainstorm on aligning themselves to the new normal. Anybody who is not aligning themselves to the new normal will face trouble, and cash will be lost. So there could be a reason where there could be a point where you might want to just hit a pause button and redefine the existence of the company, or the very core thought process of the company. That would be very, very important. The third thing, Vikram, I think very, very critical is anybody and everybody has to go aggressive without spending money, which is a catch-22 situation again. So you cannot end up spending so much of money, but at the same time, you can also be very aggressive in acquiring customers. So I think these are the 3 key points which I would tell the investor to talk to the CEOs about. I think the second point is very, very important, because aligning to the new norm is not a choice, it's a compulsion.
Right.
Does that answer your question, Vikram?
Yes, exactly. One small request to both Sven and Debasis. If possible, if you guys can arrange a very short
Absolutely, Vikram. I mean, you are on our mentor board. Your wish is our command.
Definitely.
Sven?
And if I may just add, Vikram, so a lot of startups are saying, hey, we're in lockdown situation, it's COVID-19, we can't do a lot. And I always say, hey guys, take this as your opportunity to sit down, because you're not wasting time for commuting to work and back. Take time to reflect back on your processes, maybe analyze the last year, what you have done so far. Check out all those old leads, maybe who didn't come back because they were so busy. Do that, or just do double the amount you would do before. And this is how we, Debasis, Pedro, and we do this, because we're not commuting. We're here the whole time, from morning 8 until 9 p.m. at night. We go through everything, reflect ourselves, brainstorm on new ideas, and just create an action plan and execute. I always say execute, execute, execute. That's maybe another advice from me towards the startups, and maybe it kind of relates to your question as well.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
I also believe that this is a good opportunity for investors to pick up some of the very potential startups and really support them. So maybe we can discuss all these things during our next session.
Definitely.
Yes,
definitely.
we will.
Thank you, Vikram.
Yeah.
We've got two more people who raised their hand. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. So let's see. So next up, we have Ashok. He's the managing partner of Startup 360.
Hi there.
Hi, Ashok. How are you?
Hi, Ashok. How are you?
Hey, good. Good presentation, both of you, and good perspectives, I'll say. I think pre and post, but I like to add one in between is the COVID days. COVID days in between, before and after. So with that, I just curious to know, what do you think will be the opportunity in the reverse side, right? So now India has got a lot of opportunities in some of the spaces where world would like to look at India. Are you guys having any view on that?
Yes. So, Ashok, interestingly, India is on a poise for explosive growth, which we all know, but that's all on theory right now. India will never be able to reach the level and scale of Chinese manufacturing, especially in the manufacturing is what we are looking at, because we are seeing an emotional exodus from China, which India should capitalize on. So I was on a call with one of the Niti Aayog gentlemen, and he said that it all depends on the next 3 years, how India reforms its labor policies, how India makes ease of doing business easier in India. While we are poised for many positive stuff, but then it's all a question of how the government and how the private sector reacts to this opportunity. The world is also talking about Mexico, Latin American countries, Southeast Asian countries, Taiwan, Indonesia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka being few of them. But having said so, India is definitely a preferred location, because first of all, you guys must have heard of the video from Steve Bannon. He was so pro India, and he feels that because India has got a democracy, and he said that however messy it is, they are hugely pro India in terms of transferring most of the manufacturing out of China. But again, it's not necessary that we will be able to take up or catch onto every opportunity given to us. We have to be selective in what we want to do and play via our strengths as a country.
Sorry, just a small clarification. This is what I meant is the technology space and online space.
Absolutely. So technology has got two parts to it. One is the platform, and another is the hardware software platform, right? So I'm talking about, so at the software area, we already have a very good standing. Where we lose out is in the IoT hardware space, where we always lose out to China. And we have a fantastic potential to catch that up, if I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah. We have also been getting a lot of good vibes, positive vibes, and a lot of inward inquiries from other parts of the world. So I'm excited.
You're from Bangalore.
Yes.
Just as a perspective, Pina is the largest small medium manufacturing hub in Asia, and we don't see any IoT companies running out of that place, unfortunately. So we need to see how that works, isn't it? So, yeah.
I have a view, but we will take it offline. Yeah.
Yeah, let's take
I'm
that
very
offline.
optimistic. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashok. Thank you. So up next we have Pushpak Hurpade. He's the founder of EVC Finder app.
Hi, Pushpak.
Hello. Sir, what do you think about EV industry after this Corona thing? Actually, India is in very beginning of EV industry.
EV has
So what
already
do you
started
think?
showing. EV has started showing growth, and it will show growth. There is a huge government push on EV. We work very closely with the director of National Highway for Electric Vehicles. We have got some very interesting insights into the way the government is pushing this initiative. So we see an explosive growth in the electric vehicle space.
And maybe just to add, Pushpak, in this webinar, there is a founder. His name is Sumit Thakur. After this session, I think you should sit with him on a table. He's also operating in the autonomous driving space. So I think you should have a chat with Sumit as well. He's in this webinar. Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Perfect. So who else is here? So we have one question from Deb Gupta, Digital Ad Ops and Product Marketing Pro. Hi, Debasis. Sorry if I've missed this join. I joined late. What would be the strategies for a new startup post-COVID, say in the food restaurant space?
Food and restaurant space. Interesting. Try to dominate your business online. That would be most important. Experience in restaurant space, walk-ins is already taking a big hit and continue to take a big hit because we are still not getting that comfort of sitting with mass group of people in a particular place. So please plan anything what you do in the food tech space with a cloud kitchen and home delivery options.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Debasis. So I think nobody has yet raised their hands or asked the questions. Before everybody leaves, I'm now going to share my screen, and I promised everyone here a surprise. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Perfect, Sumit. Perfect. So Mushtaq also wants to share something. Mushtaq, have you asked the question? We could not see a question, sorry. So I would suggest after this session, don't exit. We have networking tables, virtual tables where you can sit on, and then we can maybe have a post discussion. So, okay, too bad we don't have drum rolls here, but that's okay. Okay. Now I want to know from the audience if you guys know the next speaker. Who is this? Anybody? Yeah. Sumit, you're cheating. Are you cheating, Sumit? Okay. Aneta, no way. So Aneta knows him. Very good. Okay, guys, I'm going to crack the suspense. So we are going to have in May a session with Dan Ram. His full name is Daniel Ramamurthy. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an MC in one of the biggest startup conferences globally. If you guys know Bits and Pretzels, he was there last year hosting Jessica Alba and Barack Obama as well. He is also a startup coach, and he has agreed to do a workshop with us on the 14th of May. So make sure you register. We are going to send some social media posts regarding that today. So make sure you join. I thought it would be a nice surprise. Dan has invested immense time into the Indian ecosystem as well. In fact, in February, he was in Mumbai, I believe, at a university. So he helps promote entrepreneurship right at the university level. He's a great guy. His energy is just great. So we're super excited to host him on the 14th. Again, we are doing these things for you guys. Even though, yes, you see Mainstage everywhere, but we try to promote Mainstage as less as possible. And this webinar series is for you. So if any one of you would like to speak, get in touch with me, get in touch with Debasis or Pedro. If you want to collaborate or partner with us, please do get in touch. Until then, stay safe and stay productive. Thank you. Namaste.